Use speaker instead of chair. Yeah, Professor Kinsley Nyako, Honorable.
Right, Honorable Speaker, there is a minor observation on item 9 statement, the last but one line. Minister for Finance as a fugitive by the Office of Special Prosecutor. If you look at 959, it is the Special Prosecutor. So the definite article D is missing. And I think it would be appropriate to include that to align with what the Act specifically captures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think the word used by the Special Prosecutor is fugitive of justice. He used the word fugitive of justice. So table office, can you take note?
Speaker, just the same corrections that are made on page 9, item 8. Even the heading, if that can be taken note, ruling from the chair. So chair to be substituted by either the speaker, because he was the second deputy speaker at that time.
Very well. Page 10. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's go back to 8. I'm not satisfied with the word chair being changed to speaker. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I think my colleague was not listening to me. What I said is that yesterday there was a ruling by the speaker, the person presiding. And when we are in the chamber, it's not committee where we say chairman. We say either the speaker. And in the absence, we have 3 speakers, the speaker, the first and the second deputy speaker. In the absence of that, we still refer to the person presiding, but not chair. So I was seeking his guidance whether yesterday the ruling was made by the second deputy speaker, who is a speaker but not a chairman or a chair.
Honourable Member, I think our rules are clear. We have the speaker, we have Mr. Speaker. So, chairperson could mean caucus chairman, committee chairman. So to make the distinction, there is nothing wrong if you use the word the speaker or Mr. Speaker. Page 10. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a minor correction at page 10, right on top of item II. I believe there is an omission before the word issue, which should be there, the issue, not to issue raised, to the issue raised. So there is missing.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Table office, take note. Honourable Kinsley Nyako, I saw you on your feet.
The same issue that has been handled by
Very well, very well. Yes, Honourable Member, at page 10.
Yes, page 10. On item II, the last statement, her development objectives. I thought I should be her developmental objectives. I don't know whether it's being quoted verbatim based on what the maker of the statement said, but I think that if it is grammar, there should be her developmental objectives.
Honourable Member, do you mean to say that development objectives is grammatically wrong?
I just feel that the better word should be developed.
Well, I'll leave it to the table office. Now, page 11. Honourable members, the vote and proceedings of the 16th sitting, dated Wednesday, 12 February 2025, as corrected, is adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, we have the official reports of 7 February 2025. The floor is yours for corrections. Rosemary. All this cannot be taken today. Honourable members, any correction? Yes, Honourable Professor Kingsley Nyako.
Honourable Speaker, a minor correction at column 2, the last paragraph, reading from line number 5. And I read, but my brother knows that today is Friday, and he also knows that as we speak, there are 2 committees meeting, the ad hoc committee and some other committees are meeting. My view is that if you say that 2 committees are meeting and there is an ad hoc committee meeting, then there could be another committee, not some other committees are meeting. Then to make it more than the 2 committees that was stated earlier, unless that was what the person did say verbatim. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Table office, take note. Any further correction? Yes. Honourable Frank Afriye.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, with your leave, let me invite you to column 2, paragraph 5. Majority Chief Whip, Mr. Roxton Nelson Eche Kwame Dapiamekpo. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, but then there has been an insertion of there ahead of. So this issue go, I thank you for the opportunity. There is an insertion of there which should be corrected there. And Speaker, again, can we go to column 8, paragraph 1, under motions, line 6, the word ministers. I think there is an omission of I, if that could be corrected under motion.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Table office, take note. Honourable members, any further corrections? Honourable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Friday, 7 February 2025 is hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, item numbered 6, statements. Honourable members, I have before me a statement by Honourable Muhammad Bawa Brahma, Member of Parliament for Ajura Secretary, Dumasi constituency, on the distractions of Ajura police station by rampaging youth on the 11th January 2025. Honourable Member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Member, resume your seat. Majority Whip.
Indulge me. I am aware of a number of statements you have admitted. And Speaker, because of the communication you gave out when we met at Conclave, that you have to adjourn because of a particular reason, would you be kind enough to inform the House the number of statements we have? Because I am aware we have 2 on our side, so that members can apprise themselves accordingly.
Yes, honourable members, if you stick to the contribution of 5 minutes and we limit the number of people who are to do the contribution, we can take 3-4 statements. So, honourable members, the leadership must guide me as to the number of contributions on each statement. So I will be seeking your guidance when it comes to contributions.
Speaker, I'm sorry. Just for you to mention the ones that have been admitted, and then I'm sure as we progress along the line, we can confer and determine the number of contributions that should be entertained. I am aware of 2. One,
honourable members, the second statement is by Honourable Nana Asafoje Aye, Member of Parliament for Bosomi Frehun constituency, on World Radio Day. Honourable members, the other statement stands in the name of Matthew Nyindam on the devastating bushfire in the Kwandai district of Northern Region. And honourable members, if time allows us, we may also take a statement in the name of Michael Ochre, Befi, MP for New Job and South, strengthening Ghana's industrial sector and trade for sustainable economic growth. Thank you very much. Minority Whip. Yes, Majority. Deputy Majority Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think you read out 4 different statements. Yeah, so how many? You say how many? 3. All right, we'll do 3. Mr. Speaker, I think 3 on each side. 3 on each side. You've directed that 5 minutes. We should do like 5 minutes so that we'll be able to take more of the statement. So I think 3 to start off with.
So the 3, is that including leadership?
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well. I'm accordingly guided.
Support the deputy leader for his suggestion. You said 3 on each side, and then we'll go by the 5 minutes. But I'm wondering. I don't know if there have been any changes on your front bench. I see my good friend Echampong happily sitting at the back. And then we have, are you staging a coup? And you are sitting on the chair of the
Honorable Chief Whip, you are right.
I'm just curious.
Honorable Deputy Minority.
I'm curious.
Honorable Deputy Majority, please take your seat.
You should take your seat. Take your seat.
Please take your seat. Honorable Deputy Majority Whip, please take your seat. Honorable Erika Fool.
Speaker, this is very serious. On our side, we know that seat is for the chief whip. And the chief whip is a very senior member of this house.
Honorable Eric Afu.
Is it the case that you are staging
Honorable Eric Afu, please
yes,
take your seat.
Get up. Go and sit your seat.
Let's make progress. Kindly take your seat.
Mr. Speaker.
Please take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going back to
You
my
are
seat,
directed to take your seat without comment.
But let me put on records.
Honorable Eric Afu, you are directed accordingly. Yes, Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I just remind ourselves that seats have not actually been yet properly allocated in the chamber. So if you direct him to go to his seat, he probably does. Well.
Honorable members, order. Honorable Brahma, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, grooming is allowed.
Honorable Doyo, I have given the floor to Honorable Brahma.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Brahma, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, let me express my deepest condolences to the family of the late Ms. Bao Shaibu, and also take this opportunity to appeal to the youth of Ejura to remain calm and allow due process to take its course. While I strongly condemn the violent destruction of the Ejura police station, I urge all stakeholders to address this matter with the seriousness that it deserves, to prevent future unfortunate incidents in the future. Mr. Speaker, the ravaging of the Ejura police station through fire by a rampaging youth following the death of Ms. Bao Shaibu in police custody is deeply regrettable. I appeal to the youth of Ejura to exercise restraint and avoid actions that jeopardize community resources. The destroyed property does not belong to the Ghana Police Service personnel, but to the people of Ejura. The Ejura police station, built before Ghana's independence, has served the community for decades, providing vital law enforcement services. It is therefore unfortunate that events of January 11, 2025 led to its total destruction. Mr. Speaker, this tragic incident could have been avoided with better handling by the police. The late Ms. Bao Shaibu, a young man in his 20s, was alleged to have bought a stolen phone. On the evening of January 10, 2025, the police invited him to the station via a phone call. He complied, arriving on his motorbike with the alleged stolen phone. After interrogation, he was taken into custody. Despite his plea to return home and report back the next day, which included an offer to leave behind his motorbike and phone, his request was denied. He reportedly told the police he was unwell and having just arrived from the Amantin market. Mr. Speaker, while in custody, Ms. Bao Shaib complained of abdominal pain and began vomiting. When his condition was
Hello there. You can see I'm in a very green area and the air here is quite different. I have a very interesting guest. This guest is someone we've been speaking with for some weeks now. She just came back from Russia. It's going to be the first interview I'm having with anyone from that far off anywhere in the world. And she's going to tell us her story. My name is Echi Atisu. I welcome you once again to this program. Hello, Dr. Paulina.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
And we get to finally meet.
Yes.
After how many weeks we've been talking and all that?
3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's been long.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You came back just a few days ago and already we've dragged you out here for this interview.
Yes, please.
How's Russia, by the way?
Russia is fine. Cool. Yes.
Is the war still on?
Yeah, it's kind of going on a little, but
it didn't affect you any?
Not really. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason we're having this conversation with you is because GhanaWeb had done a story about you when you got your red diploma, which is something we'll talk about much later in the interview. But then you reached out, which a lot of people don't do, and we decided why not? So we want to hear your story, and I want to begin from home. You're back home now. I want to know you a little bit. Who is Dr. Paulina Dente?
Okay, Dr. Paulina. My name is Dr. Paulina Dente. Is a recent graduate from the Yaroslav Medical School in Russia. Novgorod State is based in Novgorod, and also a health advocate and a CEO of Remedy Foundation.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more when we start our interview. Yeah.
So that's you in a bit. What kind of family did you grow up with? What kind of family?
From a Christian home.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very disciplined. Yes. And
the military kind?
Not really, but very disciplined. Okay. And then from a humble home, a very prayerful family as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see. And then along the way, you decided to japa.
Yes.
And you went all the way to Russia. What was the decision? What informed that decision to move from Ghana all the way to Russia? Why there were not people here to train you?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. First of all, I've always wanted to become a medical doctor. So having that passion or the dream of becoming a medical doctor, and not just any kind of a medical doctor, I wanted to be a doctor that will help solve most problems that the world faces. So Russia is known to be one of the countries that are very good at some of this solving problems in terms of medical aspect or health aspect. For example, we know that during the COVID-19, Russia was the first country to discover the vaccine for the COVID-19. And recently, they have been able to, or they are about to discover also, no, I think they've discovered the vaccine for cancer, which we know that cancer is a sickness that most people face across the world. And once you get it, you know that you're at your end points. But this is a country that is able to discover this, and I've always had a dream to be part of such countries to also learn and then impact it into other people in helping health problems.
That means it's about the groundbreaking acumen of Russia that got you there. But before you left, which schools did you go to in Ghana?
So I went to Methodist Girls Senior High School, Manfi Methodist Girls Senior High School.
The famous one for robotics,
yes.
Right? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I went there. And then from there, I went straight to Russia to do my medicine.
Okay.
Yes.
So that means that when you left senior high school, you went to Russia.
Yes.
Was it on a scholarship?
Yes, I was on a scholarship.
Okay.
So I went to Russia on a scholarship.
Okay. And you were there for how many years?
For 7 years.
7 years?
Yes.
Doctor. That's how long it takes to become a doctor.
Exactly.
Very interesting. But tell me your first experiences when you got to Russia. What were some of the experiences leaving your home Ghana after so long, getting into a new country like Russia?
Okay, so it was not easy when I got to Russia because first of all, we know that in Russia, they speak more of the Russian language. They don't speak English, or most of their cities don't have English.
Okay.
Even the cities that you can hear people speak English, Moscow, is just few people. So one was the language barrier, and two was also the weather. Russia is known to be one of the coldest countries.
Yeah.
We go to the extent of -31. Sometimes you have to even double wear your trousers and a whole lot of stuff. So it was not easy at all. So those were some of the challenges. And also Russians are known, they are nice people, very cool people. But getting to a country where you can't speak a language for the first time, you're now coming to start studying with the foundation, that's the foundation, language foundation, is very difficult. So those were the early challenges.
And which is an interesting aspect of your entire story, because
Exactly.
you were able to surmount all of those things to the point where you were perhaps one of the most sought after persons and immigrants of the sort in that country. And I want you to just carry us along that journey. At what point did you break through the barrier of not being able to speak the language and then actually mastering it? Tell us that story.
So when I got to Russia, as I already said, the language is one of the biggest problem from the beginning for me. And I started with the language foundation, which we studied for 1 year. So during the language foundation, I put in my effort. I studied very hard. And I started catching up with the language. But it was not all that much. I was able to say the basic stuff like good morning, good afternoon. And
how do you say that in Russian?
Good morning is Dobrai Utra.
Okay, Dobrai Utra.
Okay. And good afternoon is Dobrai Din.
Dobrai Din.
Din, yeah. Okay. And good evening is Dobrai Vichra.
Okay, so the Dobrai is good?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm learning something. All right.
So after the language school, we took an exam. It's after you pass this language, the language that you'll be able to start your medicine in the language. So I passed the language very well, whatever subjects that were involved. I remembered one of the subjects I was the highest in the whole language foundation. Yes, I topped the whole language foundation there.
And this was you, an African?
Yes.
Were there other Africans like you?
Please.
Okay.
So with the language foundation, we are all Africans.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can talk about people from Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, Gabon, Congo, and so on.
But you didn't have anyone else from Ghana?
We had a lot of other students from Ghana.
Right.
Yes.
At least you got some people who were familiar with people to speak with. Okay. All right. And you topped that course?
So the language school was successful. Then I started the medical school.
Okay.
So another thing was when I got to Russia, from our seniors who are already there, I was told it's impossible for foreigners to get this red diploma, which I think we'll be talking more when we start our interview. So I told myself, no. I'm that kind of person that likes challenges a lot. I told myself, no. I think there is nothing which is impossible. Everything is possible based on the individual. So I put in more effort to study, and then during the first year, it was very challenging because first year now we mixed with the Russians.
And that's where they test for the language.
Exactly. It's already their language. We are borrowing it from them. So the lecturers come to the lecturing halls. They will lecture you in Russian language. You have to write your notes in Russian language. Assignments and other things are being given in Russian language. So it was difficult, but I managed. Sometimes I asked...
bringing to the fore the violence that took place in Adra in relation to attack on the police station, and to commend the Member of Parliament for his role played in calming the situation so far, and to join him and my other colleagues in signaling our condolences to the families of the deceased. Mr. Speaker, the growing spate of acts of violence in this country, particularly within the span of a month or two, is quite worrying and deserves every condemnation that there is. Much as many have condemned the alleged mishandling of the deceased by the police, it is also equally condemnable any act of violence meted out on the police station that led to its destruction, which now requires same modest resources of the state to be deployed in rebuilding. Mr. Speaker, a society, I always say, is a reflection of what leaders advocate for. And we as political class have acute, particularly so when we see it almost becoming okay that or known military personnel must raid a private, when electoral commission must be attacked for the conduct of their legitimate constitutional duty. When
Honorable Intim Fojo, make sure you operate within Order 93.
Mr. Speaker, I'm guided by Order 93. So it is important that all these acts, they dovetail into violences which undermine the peace that this country enjoys. Consistently for the past 4 or 5 years, the Global Peace Index and many organizations have ranked Ghana as the most peaceful in Africa, even globally as one of the most peaceful in the top 5. The recent one ranked Ghana as second most peaceful in the world, even ahead of Australia and Canada. It is important that we all do our part to consolidate these sterling credentials so we don't undermine the peace and security we all enjoy. It is important that, devoid of politicization, we show leadership in rallying the rest of our society with us, in condemning acts of violence regardless who conducted it. And even one suspect, in the case of the deceased, Mr. Shaibu, even when a suspect is alleged to have conducted a wrongdoing or a crime, they deserve the right to be heard. They deserve the right for fair trial. They don't need to be condemned. Even in the handling of prosecution, their dignity ought to be upheld. So all these are lessons we need to take, and in the consistency with this principle to be applied wherever certain offenses are suspected. With these few words, I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I proceed to Honorable Sukwaro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement being made by my colleague, Honorable MP for Adra. Mr. Speaker, this particular issue is very important for us as leaders in this country. Mr. Speaker, police or victims dying in police custody has become something that has been happening for the past few years. Mr. Speaker, I recall on the 1st of March 2023, a woman who is a stroke patient died in a police custody. And sometimes you ask yourself, the kind of investigations the police are conducting, that you would have to keep somebody in your custody more than 24 hours as the law requires. We are all aware that with the recent, sometime back, with the Supreme Court ruling that says that all offenses are now bailable. And before you can detain somebody more than 24 hours as a police officer for investigations, you need 48 hours. Thank you for the correction. You need to go to court for the court to give you the permission. I am not a lawyer. Thank you very much, Mr. Zue, for the correction. You need to go to court for court to give you the permission if you are not done with the investigation, so that the person can either be kept in police custody or can be kept in a prison's custody whilst the investigation would continue. But with this, Mr. Speaker, I think in as much as that I condemn the actions of the youth, I think the police also are supposed to be blamed. If seriousness are attached to matters like this, especially when it has to do with petty, theft issues, police must attach seriousness into the investigation and make sure that these matters are investigated within the laws that are stated. But when you have a victim being kept in your custody more than 48 hours, or in the name of investigation, if something happens to the person, certainly you would see the youth or the relatives, certainly they will certainly react. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would want to use this opportunity to call on the police and all the, security agencies. They should and make sure that when there is a case before them for them to investigate, they must do it within the laws. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, we live in a country governed by law. We are not living in a country in a natural state of war. Honorable members, nobody is above the law. So we should allow the law to operate. We cannot continue to be taking the law into our own hands. Honorable members, police are to protect life and property. We need to realize that Ghanaian and the police are supposed to live coterminously. I would therefore urge the IGP to ensure that this matter of the statement Honourable members, yesterday there was a statement made by Honourable Deputy Minority Whip. It generated so much debate, and in the course of the debate, Honourable Majority Leader promised to verify some issues and bring it to the fore. I am reliably informed that he is ready to inform the House. After that, I will give the floor to the minority leader, and no one else is entitled to contribute to the issue. I will therefore give the floor to the majority leader. But Honorable members, we must be circumspect and operate within Standing Order 93(5). Honorable Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you rightly indicated, yesterday, Deputy Minority Whip sought leave of the Speaker and the indulgence of the House to raise a matter that he thought was of urgent public importance. Specifically, he raised two issues, one pertaining to some press conference of the Special Prosecutor at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Secondly, he drew attention to a joint police-military entry into the private residence of the former Minister of Finance, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. Mr. Speaker, the statement drew a lot of debate, following some commentary, and I promise this House that I will carry out some investigation to try and appreciate the circumstances surrounding the joint police and military entry into the private residence of the former Minister of Finance. In making this statement today, let me indicate that as a country and as a parliament, we have a constitution to uphold. That constitution has embedded in it fundamental human rights, including the right to one's privacy, the right to the integrity of one's property, and His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama remains committed to ensure that the rights and liberties of every individual is respected or are respected. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I make this statement on the basis of the commitment of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to reset this country, which means that everybody must act in compliance with the law and the mandate of institutions. And so I have called the relevant stakeholders in the matter to find out exactly what happened. So, Speaker, it is true that the private residence of the former Minister of Finance was entered into by operatives of the military and the police, led by the, somebody who we believe works at the National Security Coordinator's Office. Mr. Speaker, his name is Mr. Jakwa. Mr. Speaker, we have investigated the matter, and we want to say and assure our fellow countrymen and our colleagues in this House that we have received assurances from the Office of the National Security Coordinator that it was not intended that that should happen, and that occurrence is most regrettable and unfortunate, and he wants to give this House his word and assurance that a thing like that should never happen again. Mr. Speaker, I have also spoken with the Minister of Interior, who has spoken with his IGP, and I've spoken with the Minister of Defense, and all of them give their assurance to this House that a thing like that will not happen again. And so, Mr. Speaker, let me indicate to my colleagues on the other side that this side of the House remain committed to ensuring that this country is reset, that its institutions function properly, that its officials act in accordance with the law, and that the rights and liberties of every citizen are upheld and protected under the regime of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I personally extend my apologies to the former Minister of Finance, and I believe that this should suffice. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Majority Leader. I will now invite the Honorable Minority Leader for his comment.
Mr. Speaker, the man Mahama Ayariga is making his name in the politics of our country, is exemplary and must be commended. Mr. Speaker, I have not slept on this matter. He was taken to the south, I was taken to the north gate in ensuring that this matter was resolved. Mr. Speaker, what he has done today reminds me of what Honorable Attorney General did in 2015. In 2015, as a practitioner, I was all over the place, and I recall somehow Linus had urged upon him that Markin was making so much money from practice, so he should get me prosecuted on some tax offenses after the state had raided my office. And he stood his grounds. He didn't tell me, but somebody said, Market. The Deputy Attorney General said, no way. They shouldn't invade your law firm again. And to date, he's the only person I have a picture with in my office to celebrate that moment where he felt that an opponent should not be a target. And we maintain good friendship ever since. Mr. Speaker, indeed, all that he's done demonstrates sincerity. We are a political class. That's the path we've chosen. We are not to cover crime, but we must protect each other for the good of democracy. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians have told us something. When they are fed up with you, they are fed up with you. Mr. Speaker, in 2000 elections, after Kufuor won, some of us as student leaders thought that NDC will never come into office again because it was so devastating. But within 8 years, Ghanaians were already fed up with the MPP administration and they got the nod. Then fast forward 2016, when we had 169 seats, we thought it was all over for NDC. Here we were, in less than 4 years, that thing reduced to 137. We had to eat a humble pie. So, as I always quote the Frenchman, c'est la vie, this is life. Mr. Speaker, indeed, today,
order.
Mr. Speaker, indeed today, I'm leading a mighty few. And Honorable Ayariga in ECOWAS Parliament is known as a sincere partner when it comes to resolving conflicts, and he's demonstrated it here. So, my respected leader, I want to assure you that our side would engage you constructively. Let's do the politics in a very decent way. Let's respect each other. Let's use words that are complementary. Hold those who are the lowest ebb up and bring them up. If somebody is making a mistake, you go to the person and say, look, you could do it better. If somebody does it well, compliment. Let's celebrate each other. In the end, our principles will remain. I'm an MPP, proudly so. You are an NDC, proudly so. Don't let us use this platform to denigrate even our leaders. Sometimes the way we go after our leaders, the little said about it, the better. We use unprintable words. And let me caution all of us. The 2024 elections, check the percentage turnout. In Central, we didn't go beyond 60%. In Volta, around the same figures. In Ashanti, Upper East, Upper West, Greater Accra, the mighty Greater Accra, where all the politics is done. Find out the percentage turnout. What it means is that a percentage of our population is getting fed up with the political class because of our conduct. So, Mr. Speaker, some few days ago, I was scolded. Why are you apologizing? I said, when you need to correct the wrong, swallow your ego. At least that's what I've been taught. It doesn't matter. And if the whole majority leader, on behalf of government, is apologizing to an individual, we must celebrate him. And I would want to encourage our state institutions, especially those public servants who, when they see a change of government, they want to prove something to the new political masses. Me, I've been working with them, I know. They want to please. Some of them are changing their status, their DP. We see it all. They should be careful. At least today, the majority leader has made it clear that they cannot act in the name of the government, then they would go scot-free. If there is anything against any past government official, due process must be followed. And I'm sure all of us will have peace. My respected colleague, extend to His Excellency the President of the Republic the assurances of the minority that with this, we will also accord him every courtesy due him as President of the Republic. We would cooperate and oppose when we have to oppose. After all, our duty is to oppose you. And we can work together as a people to represent our people and for our people to learn from us and to teach us and to train us and to help us to advance this democracy. I want to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by saying that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, as at this morning, I had an extensive engagement with him. He's traumatized by the labeling of this adjective described to his person. But he still knows that his God is with him. He's undergoing some medical procedure. In fact, I had an early morning engagement with the Chief of Staff who confirmed that indeed Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta wrote to him and he's in receipt of the letter. He was very sincere in telling me that. So within reasonable time, I'm sure he would come. I will also engage the Office of the Special Prosecutor, engage constructively, assure him and his office that if there was any miscommunication, I, as a leader of my side, is assuring him that the man will make himself available. He left the country with permission. He would come, and if there is anything that has to be investigated, he will make himself available. It's not easy to serve your country, and I'm sure all shall be well for the good of us all. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank once again the Majority Leader.
Now, members, let me use the opportunity to thank both the Majority and the Minority Leader for setting an exemplary life. All members, this is the way we are supposed to go. My prayer is that we lived by the promises given us and we conduct the proceedings of the House with decorum and decency. I thank you. I will then call on Honorable Nana Asafo Aje Aye, Member of Parliament for Bosomi Freho constituency, to present his statement.
Thank you, the Speaker. I want to thank you for this opportunity and also thank the good people of Bosomi Freho for allowing me to represent them. Speaker, today, 13 February, happens to be the World Radio Day. And I'm reading this statement on the floor of Parliament to commemorate that special day, or this special day. The Speaker, members of Parliament, I am honored to stand before you today in commemoration of the World Radio Day. The World Radio Day, observed annually on February 13th, was acclaimed in 2011 by the members of the UNESCO and adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2012. As an international day, this global celebration recognizes the transformative power of the radio in promoting peace, tolerance, and understanding in today's world. Globally, radio has been a cornerstone of communication for over a century, providing the platform for information dissemination, education, and entertainment in Ghana. Radio broadcasting dates back to 31st July 1935, with the establishment of Radio Roy, the first state broadcast station with a primary mandate of playing liaison between the Crown and the colony. But over time, the radio served a wider and more significant role. By the 1940s, it had earned the accolade of being regarded as a theater of the minds because of music and drama, news, and broadcasts that it offered. Since then, radio has played a vital role in shaping our nation's history, from the struggle for independence to being a mouthpiece of coup plotters and finally becoming the voice of people, which is the present day today. Mr. Speaker, our radio stations, becoming a beacon of democracy of today, have however not been without a tussle. Prior to 2001, it was a criminal offense for a person to publish a defamatory or libelous statement about an unidentifiable person in the country. I am proud to state that on July 27, 2001, championed by the former President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was the then Attorney General of the Republic. The Speaker unanimously voted to change the criminal libel code. That is the repeal of the criminal libel law and the seditious law. That is amendment in the Act 201. A law by which many journalists had previously been jailed for doing their jobs. Now, libel cases are handled in civil court and remedy for the same damage among other civil remedies. I cannot address my submission for your honorable self and House without referring to the significant contribution journalists on radio have made in our country. Aside from being the focal point of dissemination of information, they have provided a platform for citizens to engage in discussion, hold leaders accountable, and assess critical information, which forms a critical aspect of democratic nation like Ghana. Radio, I reiterate, has become an indispensable tool for democratic practice, especially at the local level. However, despite this contribution, there are challenges that we must acknowledge. Some journalists on radio have been known to perpetuate hate speech, propaganda, deliberate misinformation to the public on critical matters. These practices have the potential to incite violence, undermine national cohesion, and erode trust in the democratic institution. The growing case of politically owned affiliate radio stations and more often than not the unfortunately biased reportage has misinformed and eroded the gain that the radio throughout life has made, and it's important that we take note of that. To address this concern, I urge radio stations to uphold the highest standard of professionalism, accuracy, fairness in their reportage. As we celebrate World Radio Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to promote a free, independent, and responsible media. Let us work together to ensure that radio continues to serve the powerful tool for building a more informed, tolerant, and peaceful society. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I must say that radio perpetuity is in the face of the mass influx of social media channels and platforms, is a testament to the United Nations and UNESCO's commitment to set aside a day as today to celebrate